You're just another part of me. Whatever. I'm not gonna scream like Michael Jackson because nobody's got it like he does. But you're just another part of me is what we're calling this one. Okay. This deals more so with generations of people. When you don't correct the problem in one generation, it follows through into another. Okay, you have a father, and the father is a young father, and he's dating. And he already has children from a prior relationship. But in his own way, he might be looking for a parent figure to basically fulfill the mothering while the children are visiting him. So he's dating, and he just had a brand new boy, and his boy is growing up, and the mother and him have separated. They are having their on and off relationship, but he makes the mistake of taking his child around different women. When he does this, in order to keep the child silent, he feeds the child ice cream and puts the child in front of the television while he's visiting different women. What does this do is the question. You're painting an image in that child's mind that this is good, that this is what's supposed to happen. So as that child grows up, these memories do not fade. So intuitively, he's taken in these different examples, and what he does is he acts it out. So now when he's fathering children from different relationships, and more than one, of course, from different women, you got to wonder, where did it come from? It came from the father. We are not looking at our examples and learning from them when we are making mistakes such as this one. This is why what happens is the child is going to school and he's having some issues. The principal will then more likely call for the father to come in, because the father is going to be the one that you're going to get the repeating of actions. This child has actually picked up on what the father was doing, and he's acting it out emotionally as well as physically. So you have all this happening, history repeating itself in another phase. Now, although this might be a wonderful thing for some people to have children all over the place, but what about the children? Even though they might know their siblings from different mothers or different other parents, fathers, what have you, the problem has not been fixed. The problem is that these children are not going to be nurtured in the way that they should, because it's the history, the history repeating itself over and over again. When does the healing begin? Because that child grows up to be a man-child, his children are going to follow suit. They might not be the marrying type because of what they've witnessed, how they've watched things happen. And those children are also pointing fingers and judging, because that father figure was not able to spend the quality time with each child because he was all over the place. He was not supportive in the way that he could have been. And although people are not all getting married nowadays, you still have to look at how all these things play part. Some people get married and they have a splendid relationship, but the healing has to continue to happen. Okay, you have a mother. This mother marries this man, and the man has a prior relationship with children before. And she marries him thinking that she can change things. She thinks things are going to be different. But they're not going to be different because the common denominator still is here. That father figure who was looking for a mate who can help and be a helpmate of some sort. The problem is that while he's looking around and he's sampling different women, having these different polyamorous lifestyles, he finally decides, okay, this is going to be the one. The problem is when he meets the one, she's cleaning up things that could have been or should have been cleaned up before she entered the picture. But because she's loving, and because she's bedazzled by the way in which this man is carrying himself and sweeping her off her feet, so to speak, you have to also look at where they met. Let's just say they met at a bar. When they're meeting at a bar, this environment, what's played out? Are we just meeting at a bar and are we just drinking ourselves into a frenzy? When you're in a movie theater and you're dating, how much conversation are you having to get to know who this person really is? How about spending some time out in the atmosphere, in nature, walking, talking, holding hands, and interacting, speaking, understanding, listening, hearing different things that you need to hear and listen for, so that the same history does not repeat itself. So, okay, the woman is bedazzled by the male. They get married. They have a child. The first child is a male child. Beautiful child. Perfect combination of the mother and the father. But the woman goes back into the hospital because of not getting the nurturance and I'll say the help, the counseling before having the child. So what happens is when a woman experiences postpartum depression, what she does is she takes in all the different things that were not healed. She's repeating them in her head. She's trying to heal, but now she already has a child. Who's taking care of this child? Now, other people can step in and take care of this child while she's getting the needed help. But how much help can she actually get? You see, this is the reason why a lot of people are choosing to either get help, heal themselves before they have children, or not have children at all. Because when certain things are not healed, those children play a heavier part in having to go through the same process that you went through, or maybe worse, or maybe better. Either way, when there's not been the healing process has not taken place, these children have to suffer through all that ends up going on. And let's not even look at the aunts and uncles and everyone else who plays part, because they are extended family members. And although they are supposed to be helpful, the main portion of the job has to be done by that specific family, that mother, that father, those children. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm the specialist. I'm just going by experience, observation, because when we look at history repeating itself, we're looking at those offspring making those same mistakes. And if they're not corrected, the next generation now delivers another promise of more problems. Another promise of more problems, So when we look at the dynamics, we just want to figure out how we might be able to fix these generational curses. When you look at the breakdown of the family members, that principal that wants to meet the father, he doesn't even ask to see the mother. But let's say he does ask to see the mother, and the mother comes in. When the mother comes in, she might have such a bond with the son that she might not be able to see certain things, whereas the father, the son is reflecting what he's observed with the father. That's why we have to be most careful what we do in front of these children, because the same examples that you leave are the same results that are going to be left later on. You see, nothing happens overnight, not even getting pregnant, because actually the pregnancy starts with that first action. But what about those 9 months? What about the nurturance that woman needs and the support? The Asian culture, the parents come and move in, and they usually live with and take care of, help take care of the loose leaf, the things that have not been able to be handled beforehand. When you look at all these different generations, if they have the proper support, a lot of things are not worried about and they are taken care of. But we're not living in a perfect world, so we have to try to figure out how we might be able to perfect certain things. The best way to do that is through counseling. Again, a woman once said, If you find a mate, a good husband, then that's half of the problem. Well, a lot of men can say, if you find a good woman, that's half the problem. Solved right there. There are a lot of males looking for mates to be able to father their children who are already here, and some who want to have the perfect family. But it has to first start with healed individuals. We are all working towards certain goals. Let part of that goal be mental health. Because in a lot of families, when mental health has been broken down in such a way, it causes more confusion. A little girl gets in the car with her father, and the father says, I'm going to pick you guys up tomorrow after school. And he sends his brother to pick the kids up instead. His brother's very mean, very bold, and he really doesn't like the job of picking up the kids. In some cases, he likes it because he can mistreat these children. And in some cases, he likes it because who else is he going to smack around? Nobody else he can get away with this with. So he does a series of different mind manipulation, promising the children that if they don't be quiet, they're going to find themselves in a bad situation. The son comes to the sister's rescue because he's abusing the sister. And the son is met with being choked and lifted in the air by the uncle's hand. The children later on tell the father, please don't let him pick us up anymore. We're scared of him. And the father laughs it off and sends him off and picks the kids up yet again. And this goes on consistently until one day the children speak to the mother, and the mother speaks to the father, and she says, I don't want them to be picked up by him again. And if they are, then you won't be able to pick them up. The man then pulls the mother in a separate room and threatens her. You wonder where all this began. Now, it might have begun with the father, the actual grandfather. But if you are going to have extended family members participate, you've got to sit down and speak to them about the different things that you are expecting. Cannot just assume that they know what they're supposed to be doing or are going to do what you've asked them to do. Now, sometimes a person will be happy to take a payment, but that does not necessarily mean that they're going to carry out the examples in the correct way. We're looking at family dynamics. And we look at family dynamics when you sit down at that table with those children and you have the guided conversation, a healthy conversation over dinner, Sunday dinner, whether it be after school lunch, after school evening snack. Try to make more time for those talks, because it's something that can be missing throughout that day that you missed that was very important. The children will talk to you, and by them developing that routine, it develops a better relationship between all of you. That way the family will grow in a healthy way. We have to look at how we are a part of each other. As we are being woven in to different families, whether it be extended families, foster families, we need to look at the family dynamics. We do not want these children to carry out the same dangers, mishaps, as well as misuse of behavior throughout to the next generation. Because each generation is teaching, and we really like it if they be taught in a better way. Because it is beautiful being you when you're carrying out things in a natural and healthy way. Please have a wonderful day, and I hope that you've enjoyed this segment.